Idyllwild Arts respectfully acknowledges the Kawishba Kawiagna, also known as Cahuilla Band of Indians, and all 9 sovereign bands of Cahuilla people who have stewarded this land throughout the generations and continue to steward this land for all future generations.
Idyllwild Arts Foundation is proud to present One World, One Idyllwild, the series. In conversation with Pamela Jordan, the series brings together thought leaders, creatives, influencers, and changemakers, highlighting the work of citizen artists whose careers and lives have been shaped by the transformative power of art.
Have the courage to lead.
The best thing that ever happened to me was the Northridge earthquake.
Artists throughout the world, we are the speakers of truth. We are the most authentic expression of the day, of the times.
Be determined to get the most you can from every opportunity. And where you don't see opportunities, ask for them.
Great leaders recognize that the work requires urgent patience.
You can learn about classroom management, you can learn about the new curriculum, you can learn about the new way to teach whatever it is. But at the end of the day, if those students feel that love, they're more likely to listen, they're more likely to trust, they're more likely to be vulnerable. And in that space, that's where you can change some kid's life.
From Idyllwild Arts Academy in Idyllwild, California, I'm Pamela Jordan with One World, One Idyllwild, the series. Today, my guest is Marisa Hamamoto, a graduate of Idyllwild Arts Academy. Marisa is the first professional dancer to be named People Magazine's Women Changing the World. She is a leading authority on disability inclusion and building a culture of belonging. Marisa has been named LinkedIn's top voice and has been featured on Good Morning America, NBC Today, amongst other media outlets, and her work tracks over 100 million views across social media. As a sought-after international speaker and performing artist, Marisa has shared the stage with Tim Cook at Apple HQ's Steve Jobs Theater, and her partners and collaborators include Google, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Red Bull, Adidas, PayPal, among other global forward-thinking brands. Marisa is a stroke survivor, a late-diagnosed autistic, and a proud fourth-generation Japanese American. She is the founder of Infinite Flow, an award-winning dance company and nonprofit that employs disabled and non-disabled dancers with a mission to create a more inclusive world, one dance at a time. I spoke with Marisa on January 29th, 2024. Marisa, it's so great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Pam, for having me.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. I want to encourage our listeners right now. I know they'll be excited to learn more about your story and to visit your website. So there's just so much out there on the internet. So let's maybe start from the beginning. Where did you grow up, and where did your love for dance come from?
Yes, so I was born in Japan, and my family moved to the United States when I was 2. Now, in the context of this, I was born between a Japanese American father, specifically a third generation Japanese American father from Hawaii, and a mother from Japan. They met in Japan, had me. My dad decided to go to law school, so then we all moved to California. Dad got his degree from UC Davis, and then we moved down to Irvine. Now, Irvine during the 80s and 90s was a predominantly white city in which my family, being Japanese American, was a minority. At elementary school, I got bullied and got picked on for looking different. The highlight of my week was a once-a-week ballet class where, even though I was the only dancer of color in the class, something about moving my body to music with the other dancers made me feel like I belonged. And between that and between just the love for moving my body to music and expressing myself through movement, I quickly fell in love with dance.
So you really had to learn at a very young age, made to feel like other, made to feel that you were different, and you really found an outlet in dance. I'm going to jump around a little bit.
Please do.
I'm very excited about your dance company. Tell us about your dance company and what it is that you do.
Sure, connecting that with my early years as a dancer. So I learned early on, even though I didn't have the vocabulary at the age of 6 and 7, I learned early on that dance is a universal language that belonged to everyone. Yet, during my teenage years, as I pursued this dream career of becoming a professional ballerina, I quickly learned that even though dance is a universal language that belongs to everyone, the dance industry, in this case, the ballet industry, made it seem like dance was only accessible to a few. I was constantly told that my body was too big, I didn't have the right feet, didn't have the right limbs and the flexibility and the strength, etc., etc. So I was constantly told that my body just wasn't right for dance. Fast forwarding, when I was 24, a senior in college, I had a stroke that initially paralyzed me from the neck down. And, at this time, I was kind of giving myself like a second and third chance to actually pursue a dance career. I did not go to a college I did not go to an arts-based college, but I was kind of secretly pursuing a dance career on the side. So anyways, but within that, I got a stroke, and it paralyzed me from the neck down. And this life-altering moment eventually led me to create Infinite Flow. This was 2006. I was 24. I was a senior in college in Japan, at Keio University in Japan. In many, many ways, life seemed to be coming together. Even though I was Japanese American, I was starting to feel like I knew my culture in Japan better. And I was doing good in school. I was working part-time. I was also freelancing as a dancer, and everything seemed to be going well until one day during a contemporary dance class. And this was one of those days where it was like a good dance day where my body was flying through space and everything felt so good. But in the middle of that, I felt my elbows tingle and momentarily fell to the ground. I couldn't move my arms, I couldn't move my legs, and I found myself paralyzed from the neck down. A couple days later, I find out from the doctor that I have something called a spinal stroke, and that there was a chance that I may never be able to walk or dance again. And in that moment, I thought that my life was over, because for me, dance was everything to me. And what was there to life without dance? What I didn't know at that time was that, 8-9 years later, I ended up creating Infinite Flow, which is a dance company that employs disabled and non-disabled dancers with diverse intersectional identities. And eventually, I did regain most of my mobility. I still have a left hand that is slightly paralyzed, but I do not consider myself physically disabled. However, it's been about almost 9 years since I created Infinite Flow, and as I learned about disabilities and learning about various types of disabilities, and also learning that 1 in 4 Americans have a disability, 16% of the global population, that's 1.3 billion people, have a disability, and that 70 to 80% of disabled people have non-obvious invisible disabilities. As I learned more and more about disability, I started to actually question if I was neurodivergent. And so 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, at the age of 40, I was diagnosed with autism.
Your story is, I'm listening, and it's taking everything to not interrupt you and just ask more.
Please interrupt, please edit.
It's just so inspirational, really. I'm sure it was devastating to have a stroke, to learn of your stroke, and I think your fight back, and really gaining most, of your mobility within 8 years is just incredible. It's an incredible story.
I want to stop you there, though. So me recovering from the stroke is not heroic at all. I think it was the grace of nature that kind of brought my mobility back, and did I use a lot of the knowledge and skills I had as a dancer in the process of rehabilitation? Absolutely, yes. But again, who knows why I got the stroke in the first place, and who knows why I miraculously regained much of my mobility. I actually don't use the word recover because I feel like recovery is like a multi-dimensional process, not just physical. And I don't know, I think I'm probably still recovering right now. But what I will say is I believe that sometimes life's most traumatic moments and life's challenges actually become the catalyst for us to step up. It becomes fuel for us to our next breakthrough. As artists, sometimes the most hurtful, painful moments in our life become fuel for our next creative project. So when we start thinking about it that way, yes, the stroke was definitely like a life-altering moment in my life, and I could have just left it there. But later on, when I looked around and saw that disabled people didn't have equal access to dance, it pushed me to open doors for more people to dance.
So tell us more about your company, Infinite Flow, and what kinds of projects, what do you do?
So Infinite Flow is a professional dance company that employs disabled and non-disabled dancers with diverse intersectional identities. And our mission is to create a more inclusive world, one dance at a time. We are a dance company, but I like to say that we are more of a dance movement advocating for disability inclusion. In my professional dance company, I have dancers who are wheelchair users, amputees, deaf, blind, neurodivergent, intellectual disabilities, chronic illness. I mean, it's kind of the whole spectrum. Our community is even more broader, but I believe that art is a powerful, powerful vehicle to create change in the world. And for me, we're using the universal language of dance to promote more inclusivity.
You shared a video with me, a documentary, Changemaker, and it's just so powerful. But tell us a little bit about that video, and really you kind of challenge people to, what are you going to do to be a change maker? Tell us about the video.
Sure. So I attended Idyllwild Arts Academy between 1999 and 2000. Sadly, I only attended Idyllwild Arts Academy for 1 year, but it was definitely the best year during my K through 12 education. And it was this year, my 1 year at Idyllwild, that changed the trajectory of my life forever, and eventually led to my work at Infinite Flow. To just kind of give you a background about this, so Idyllwild to me, coming from outside of Idyllwild into Idyllwild at my senior year, immediately Idyllwild Arts Academy was this place where I felt like students were accepted for who they were or who they are. So for me, I remember, I think one of the first people that I saw on campus was a boy that had makeup on. And I was like, wow, that's really, really cool. So at Idyllwild Arts Academy, gay kids get to be gay. And because there's so many international students, multiculturalism is celebrated. Having been in so many spaces where I'm the only person of color, or I'm only the Asian person, it just felt like it was the one place, this school made me feel like I belonged. So in the context of that, the end of the year dance concert was a student choreography concert where all the senior dance students had an opportunity to choreograph something. And our instructions were to pick our cast, pick the music, and turn that into the dance office. Now, me being very anxious to know which of my classmates had selected me into their work, and there was 14 of us total, I decided to sneak into the dance studio a little earlier than everyone to see who had casted me. So I entered the dance studio. It's dim. I'm alone. I approached the department bulletin board. I look up and down the 3 pieces of paper, which was the casting notice, and I noticed that my name is not anywhere except for as choreographer for my own work. I look again and again, and I'm like, yep, my name is missing. So in that moment, I just started to cry. I mean, it's one thing to be rejected by authority and institutions. It's another thing to be rejected by your own peers. And in that moment, it just really hurt. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I came to Idyllwild Arts Academy to finally feel like I belonged, but I guess I can't. I mean, I just couldn't believe that my high school years was going to end this way. But then when I looked at the notice for, I don't know, maybe the 3rd or 4th time, I noticed that 7 other students were missing from the cast, mostly from the lower grades. And I said to myself, that doesn't seem right. Like, this is a student dance concert. Everyone should have the opportunity to participate. And that feeling of injustice in that moment was so strong that somehow in that moment I took out a pencil out of my backpack and wrote down all 7 names into the cast. Now, I barely knew these 7 dancers, but by the time 5 weeks of rehearsal passed and we do this performance, I got to know them well, and some of them I still keep in touch through social media. I was awarded Dance Major of the Year, but the cooler thing about this is that since I graduated high school, there was a policy placed in the dance department ensuring that all dance students participate in the student choreography concert. And it's been 24 years since I graduated, and that policy is still there. And looking back, this was the moment that for the first time in my life, I took myself out of the seat of the victim and put myself into the driver's seat. It was also a moment where I realized that my small actions can lead to big change, and writing down 7 names onto a piece of paper led to change, led to lasting change for thousands and thousands of students to come. So yes, this action this idea of small actions lead to big change eventually led me to create Infinite Flow. Fast forwarding 2014, 14 years after I graduated, I don't like the word recover, but I had recovered from the stroke. I had gotten my dance career back, as a ballroom dancer. I moved to LA in 2012 to pursue a dance and entertainment career all over, like maybe giving myself the 2nd, 3rd, maybe 4th time to do this dream dance career. And then I find myself again not fitting the box. Like, I was told that, Asian Americans don't fit the role of ballroom dancers or salsa dancers. And yeah, Marisa, you just don't really have the look of the Hollywood dancer. And I just could not believe that the feelings and the feeling like I just didn't fit the box, this feeling that I encountered during high school was coming back now in my 30s. But this time I questioned it. I said, well, no, there's nothing wrong with my body. There's nothing wrong with my ethnicity. The problems are the systems in society. And that's not right. And in my gut, I just knew that I just wanted to be part of creating change, because all I know, and going back to 6-year-old Marisa, is that dance is a universal language that belongs to everyone. So anyways, one thing led to another, and each of my small actions eventually led to Infinite Flow. And Infinite Flow has evolved, and it's still going to evolve. It's definitely evolving this year. But our mission to create a more inclusive world, one dance at a time. That one dance at a time is there intentionally because, again, me taking out a pencil, writing down 7 names led to lasting change. So who knows? One dance, one small actions can lead to more systemic change.
If you're just joining me, my guest today is Marisa Hamamoto, founder of Infinite Flow, an award-winning dance company and nonprofit that employs disabled and non-disabled dancers with a mission to create a more inclusive world one dance at a time. We'll be right back.
Idyllwild Arts Academy is an independent boarding arts high school whose mission is to change lives through the transformative power of art. Located just 2 hours inland from Los Angeles and San Diego and 1 hour from Palm Springs, the school sits on 205 acres of forested land in the San Jacinto Mountains. Academy students receive a challenging college preparatory academic curriculum while engaging in pre-professional training in their chosen arts discipline. The school is also home to its world-renowned summer program that serves children starting at age 5 through adults age 95. Idyllwild Arts believes that art is the greatest teacher of humanity and that the practice of creativity, no matter the ultimate expression, hones each individual's desire and ability to craft global change. To learn more, visit idyllwildarts.org.
Welcome back. My guest today is Marisa Hamamoto, founder of Infinite Flow, an award-winning dance company and nonprofit that employs disabled and non-disabled dancers with a mission to create a more inclusive world, one dance at a time.
I cannot tell you how appreciative I am of Idyllwild Arts Academy for making me who I am. Every single Friday in the theater, I remember Dr. Bill Lohman would close off saying, "And remember who you are and what you stand for," every single Friday. And I think as a kid, and this is every Friday, and sometimes it's like, oh, well, okay, we have to go to this thing on Friday again. But repetition is power. And remember who you are and what you stand for. In my case, there was a point in my life where I really could not. There was a point in my life where I literally could not stand up anymore, and that was when I had a stroke. And there were so many times in my life where I got knocked down again and again and again and again. And during those times, what gets whispered in my ears is that remember who you are and what you stand for. And every single time I have gotten knocked down, oftentimes I remember that incident of pulling out that pencil, and I remember that who I am is someone that is courageous, someone that's got a bigger, higher purpose for their art, for humanity. And so rather than getting so caught up and frustrated with the little tiny things that are right in front of me, let's look at the big picture. So I am just so appreciative of this year. I would do it all over again if I could.
You're so inspirational. Not because, you're doing big heroic things that someone can't imagine, right? But you're really taking what's given to you. I love that it still resonates. We still say it in all school every week. Remember who you are and what you stand for. And how that just continues to power your life. You're making such a difference to so many people in this world. I just encourage people to see your videos, your TED Talk, visit your website. There's just so much there. I wanted to ask you, you've received so many awards and recognition and accolades. And in my introduction, I mentioned several of them. What has been most meaningful to you and why?
Whew. That's a loaded question. Before I forget, so I turned the incident, I turned the episode of me pulling out that pencil and writing down 7 names into a 5-minute short film called Changemakers. So please go onto YouTube, look up Marisa Hamamoto, Changemaker, or go to my YouTube channel, Marisa Hamamoto, and you will see it. Definitely watch the film. My filmmaker, Kenzo Lee, did an incredible job just recreating this episode from my life with me. Sorry, going back to your question.
I just wanted to say I love that film, even though it's a 5-minute short, but it shows your younger self, right? And in that short time, just your trajectory, and in that moment, it's a very powerful documentary.
It's also very powerful. And you and I are both people of color, women of color here. We all have had the experience of feeling left out. Whether you're white, Asian, Black, disabled, not disabled, refugee or not, coming from a wealthy family or not, we have all had that experience of feeling left out. And it hurts. It really, really hurts. Now imagine, being left out all the time as a disabled person. And now, and again, disability is a very diverse diaspora here. So I don't want to generalize. But for the most part, even though over 16% of the global population is disabled, this world is not created for disabled people whatsoever. So, what I encourage each of you to ask yourself whenever you're creating some project, whether it's an art project, a school project, or in your professional careers, whatever project you're working on, ask yourself, who is left out? What can I do? How can I make a difference? Going back to your question, what has been in terms of achievements and awards and all of that, what has been most meaningful for me? For me, when I see that someone that has had some kind of exposure to me, whether it's through the media, whether it's through maybe, hearing me on this podcast, or, whether it's maybe during a guest workshop or speaking engagement, or maybe they saw my dance company. When I see someone that has been exposed to something that I do or to my presence, and they've been impacted and as a result positively impacted, and they as a result end up doing something, and achieving something, that's what's meaningful for me. I think in terms of these awards and media, yes, I've been featured across, various media, everything from People magazine to Good Morning America. For me, these media outlets, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on Good Morning America. There's a little bit of this that happens, but then it's just another way to create impact, is how I see it. So for me, what makes me happy or what makes me go, okay, this was so worth it, is when I actually am able to see or experience someone else's life transformed through the process. And sometimes I don't get that notice. Sometimes people write to me saying, as a result of, seeing you do this, or, hearing you speak about that, this is how my life has changed, or this is a small shift in my life that I've made that's really been awesome. I sometimes hear that. I don't always hear that, but I just have to trust that I'm putting good vibes out there. It's an evolution. This is all I think, because I know we're talking about art here. Somewhere I knew in my gut from a young age that I was born to dance. Like, this was what God's calling was. This was what I was made to do. And, and I thought I was going to pursue dance in one direction, but that didn't quite happen. That one direction initially was a professional ballet career that was very traditional, a traditional professional ballet career. You get hired by a ballet company, maybe dance till the age of, I don't know, like 30, 31, retire, get married, have a baby, something like that. For me, I actually didn't start my official professional dance career until I was 28. Even though I was told during my teenage years that, oh, well, if you don't get a contract from a ballet company by the age of 18, forget it, you're done. I started my professional dance career officially when I was 28. And here I am at 42, and I still feel like I have so much more to go and do, as an artist. And one thing I will say is sometimes we're pushed by society to live on a certain timeline. But, art is timeless. Let's think about this for a second. Art is timeless. So how you go about your career as an artist, you don't need to be bound by someone else's timeline. Art is timeless, and so is an art career. You know, people blossom at different ages. Some people will blossom when they're 15 and 16. And maybe they'll peak at 15 and 16, and after that, maybe they don't go. I mean, I know tons of dancers during my teenage years that were like featured on Dance Magazine, winning like international ballet competitions, and kind of like seeing like these were like the next stars. But then what are they doing now? You know, I won't call out names, but most of them are no longer dancing, or no longer even involved with dancing. So one of the things I love about Idyllwild, regardless of what department we're talking about, we look at, this school has really helped me look at art broadly. It's not just a one size fits all. Art is like a spectrum. It's a spectrum. There's a whole, you know, we're sitting here in the library, but, you know, if we're just talking about dance, okay, there is the performance side and the choreography side of dance, in which when we think about a professional dancer, we think about either performing or choreography. But what about dance history? What about dance physiology and anatomy, which I know at the school, the students learn about, like kinesiology and et cetera. There's also dance history, dance criticism. In my case, like, you know, I'm creating a more inclusive world through dance. There is so many aspects to dance that you can tap into. And one thing I love about Idyllwild Arts Academy is that it provides a broad arts education for all students. Even though there is, I mean, with each arts industry, there still is this push to say, oh, if you want to be successful, you know, with this type of an artist, you got to go this direction. Unfortunately, there still is that. But I'm hoping that students that come through this school are able to go, hold on here. I know that, but I have another idea. And so let me towards that another idea. Or like me, they look at the system and go, okay, I see that's the system, but I don't think that system is all good. So let me see if I can make it better. Like being able to think outside the box. I think that is the beauty of what this school provides.
You make me think about our mission statement, which is changing lives through the transformative power of art.
Yes.
You certainly embody that. So I'm wondering, what is next for you? You have made such an impact, and you mentioned that your company is changing a little bit. So what's next for you?
So right now, I will say, you know, I'm looking for ways to make more of an impact. It's not enough. I mean, I shouldn't say it's not enough, but I see the potential of what we can do even more. So then old ways of doing the work I do are no longer relevant anymore. So I'm just really looking at, okay, I see the potential, what we can do, and old ways are not working. So what can we do? You know, questioning that. I think as an artist, we want to continue to question, put out good questions out there, either about yourself, about your art, about the world, and let the universe, let nature bring back those answers. And so right now I am in the phase of questioning. I have a vision. I'm not ready to quite share that vision because the vision is like it's like growing every day and it's like becoming bigger and bigger. But I'll also say this much, and it's something that I think if it was me 5 years ago, this would not come out of my mouth. But the other thing I want to say is that, I'm just going to call myself a changemaker artist. As a changemaker artist, we can also get caught up in trying to serve, make a difference, and forget about ourselves. So for me, this actually past 3 years have been about, okay, what does Marisa need right now? Because, I've also been through massive burnout with the work I do. It's great work. It's work that I believe. But then I was kind of operating and leading from a cup empty. And then the pandemic happened and it was just another whole deal. So right now, it's like I'm feeling that I'm finding this balance of filling my cup and then also serving others. And, even though I do, and I'll probably mention this tonight, I do believe in when in doubt, focus out. I also think we also need to focus in. So right now it's kind of a combination of focusing in, focusing out. I will say this much, my autism diagnosis from 2 years ago at the age of 40 did have a pretty profound impact. And for me, looking back, even at my year in Idyllwild, it's like I can see so much of my autistic tendencies back in the day. So even like me being a little bit of this loner that even had a hard time fitting in a school that was as diverse as this, some of this was related to my autism. Some of this was related to, being a little bit socially awkward and not knowing how to interact with students socially, and as well as I would say, I think anybody that knows me from Idyllwild Arts Academy, especially as a dancer, they're like, oh yeah, her hyper focus as a dancer, that explains her autism. And yes, I tend to get very tunnel visioned. So these last couple years have also been about kind of learning more about me and giving myself time to be with me. And that has actually led to a lot of discovery around next steps for my impact work. And so, and this is, I think the beauty of being an artist is that there's no one size fits all. I'm just sharing my journey. My journey is not going to look like yours. But if there's anything within what I said today that, kind of ended up lighting a light bulb, then go for whatever that came about, whatever thought or idea that came about in that moment. That's likely your intuition speaking to you. So go for that.
Marisa, thank you so much for speaking with me today. You're such an inspiration. I wanted to have this conversation for a very long time, and I'm really glad we got the opportunity. Tell us your website again so people will know where to visit.
My website is www.marisahamamoto.com. If you want to contact me, there's a contact form there. On social media, I am active on Instagram and LinkedIn at the moment. Who knows? Maybe I'll join TikTok. But anyways, yes, definitely follow me. And thank you so much, Pam, for having me.
You've been listening to One World, One Idyllwild, the series, presented by Idyllwild Arts Foundation. At Idyllwild Arts, we have always believed that art is the greatest teacher of humanity. We continue to believe that the practice of creativity hones each person's desire and ability to affect global change. My name is Pamela Jordan.
To learn more about the Academy and its world-renowned summer program, please visit idyllwildarts.org. To subscribe to the One World, One Idyllwild podcast, please visit idyllwildarts.org/the series. Please consider supporting the students of Idyllwild Arts by visiting idyllwildarts.org/giving to make a gift today. Thank you for listening to One World, One Idyllwild, the series, a creation and production of Idyllwild Arts Foundation. Executive producer, Pamela Jordan. Directed and produced by Rose Colella. Edited, engineered, and mastered by Justin Holmes. Graphic design by Mark Biley. Marketing and publicity by Dana Albright, Molly Maple, and Alice Metcalf. Marketing assistance by Rose Colella. Production and research assistance by Keith Miller. Creative consultation by Palencia Turner. Our theme song is Beaconing, composed and performed by the incomparable Marshall Hawkins. Pamela Jordan was appointed president of Idyllwild Arts Foundation in 2014. Prior to this position, she held the distinction of being the first female and first African American head of school of the Chicago Academy for the Arts, a position she held for 12 years. She currently serves on the board of the Association of Boarding Schools and is also a member of the Global Education Advisory Council for Shanghai Howard Collegiate School, Kushan. One World, One Idyllwild, the series, is a production of Idyllwild Arts Foundation. Any use of materials, including reproduction, modification, distribution, or republication without the prior written consent of Idyllwild Arts Foundation is strictly prohibited.